school district deserves to know how their money is being spent. Video recording the school board meetings will help make this school board more transparent. Outsourcing this job and denying students the opportunity of a real-world learning experience would be a mistake. It seems that there's some confusion here between video recording these meetings and broadcasting them live. Bill Robertson had a good idea when he said we should use a pilot program. I use those at work as often as I can. In fact, this process has already begun. At the last meeting, the person sitting behind me video recorded it, posted it on YouTube the following day. There was a public interest based on the 75 hits that video clip got without even being advertised. The public is interested in this school board and what it does. Given today's economic reality, she showed us a very economical approach. Let's use all the resources and personnel available to us within District 211 to get this done. It can start very simply with a camcorder, a tripod, and a volunteer in the room to turn the button on. If we're going to compete with other school districts, let's do it academically and not with the quality of our video production. This school district apparently lacks a long-term strategic plan. Maybe video recording these school board meetings as part of the basic long-term plan is what's needed. One, the meeting should be recorded, maybe even by the students. Then posted on YouTube with a link to District 211's own webpage. This will be a good start of achieving transparency and moving towards developing a long-term strategic plan. The important thing in here is to get the ball rolling. I hope the board will vote yes on videotaping these meetings tonight. It's what we need, it's what the public deserves, and would be a good thing for the district as well as the citizens. Thank you.
Dovetail off of John's commentary regarding doing things economically as far as low cost versus some of the proposed. I think the article I read on the website was somebody had estimates $50,000 to $90,000 to of expenditures to often create some sort of video recording capability. As John mentioned, there are more economical ways of doing this. I really advocate and recommend that the board take advantage of Palatine's offer to loan some experience out here. Use it as some OJT. I'm sure there's probably students, there's AV departments in various schools that might be interested in learning how to videotape and be able to use that to pretty much offer a learning experience to the students, as John mentioned. Whether it be an audience as far as a member of the school district, as far as a taxpayer. We had one person last time, videotape turned out very nicely. Just a tripod would have been much more helpful. But point being, I think we can do a lot cheaper. Again, to reinforce what John said, just run a pilot, use something low cost, quick and dirty, use YouTube initially, pursue options maybe what it might be to host the video on the website and possibly stream it in the future. We maybe 4 or 5 versions, but there are a lot of low cost items. I'm really confused why the board even came back with a number of $50,000 to $90,000 as a solution to it. It almost seems like you're trying to come up with a reason why you don't want to do it. But again, I hope you consider using some low cost options and definitely take the recommendation John made is get something started sooner than later and vote yes for videotape. Thank you.
We have a report on the broadcast of Board of Education meetings. Is there any discussion? Would you like to make some preliminary remarks?
Yes, what I have included in the board write-up, I did have the previous write-up that we had given to all the board members and then the additional information. So you requested information from the Village of Palatine and also from Harper College. So that is included in your report. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question.
Sure.
In our original correspondence from the village manager, he mentioned that his staff felt as though we could equip this boardroom for somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20,000. then if I'm understanding the follow-up, and this is just for clarification, if I may.
Sure.
It appears as though that Village of Palatine is stating that their original startup cost was in fact $70,000, followed by an additional $41,000 in upgrades, which would put the startup cost over $100,000. Is that, am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Their original cost, and I believe that was in 1999, was approximately $70,000. And so what Reed Otteson told me at that time is about every 5 to 6 years, he said with the changes that occur in technology that you have to upgrade the system. So this, the $41,000 was their first upgrade, and then they're looking at making an upgrade for the next fiscal year.
You know, I don't know how everyone feels about this, but I think that, you know, by the way, thank you for bringing this information forward. I know that there was some time spent on that. You know, after asking for information and receiving information, I think that, at least for me, I think after hearing that and sifting through it again, I go back to the convenience factor of being able to make information available to people from their homes in times when they might not be able to attend board meetings. I mean, I know of several people in the community who have some physical constraints that would either prohibit them from attending board meetings or maybe even discourage them from attending board meetings due to various efforts, as well as families with young children and so on and so forth. So I guess my thoughts were, if we were able to do something like this and move forward in a cost-efficient manner, and think about doing something that would still lend itself to quality, but at the same time not really hit us in the bank account, so to speak, and make these board meetings available to families via our 211 website. And if we were able to do something just like that and not have to worry about additional expenditures for broadcasting meetings or all the technicalities or other variations that might present themselves for, well, what about those families who are not able to have access to our board meetings on cable, or those who have satellites and don't receive the local channels, or so on and so forth. What if we were to, what if there was a way where we could record meetings with maybe a 2-camera system and just record those meetings and put them on the 211 website? That's something I just wanted to throw out there. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that, but I think that's kind of what I was thinking, because again, it would allow families to be able to, you know, view and review and take a look at some of the board footage even at a later time, if they weren't available at 7:30 p.m. to either A, attend the board meetings in person, or to B, watch them on TV. I think that might be well, it seems to me that it would be a cost-efficient, viable option. And I just kind of want to throw it out there to see if anybody has any comments on that.
I wholly support the idea of doing that, and I never meant for us to do something live. So I think, putting it on our website would be wonderful, an option to do. I know we talked about it last month or last meeting. I agree with what Mr. Robertson is saying, and I think we can, if we do that, we can probably. I don't know if edit is the right word, but I know we have students that we have come before us, and with them being minors, we may not want to have them on the website and just kind of do our business portion of the meeting, because that's what I would suspect that the community would be interested in, is to see what's happening here and what kind of presentations that we have. Such as the engineering one that we had last time. So I would like to see us move forward with this and do it reasonably. I did not have an opportunity to look back through a couple of years back when we had Dr. Thornton and when we were discussing this at the time. So I didn't look back to any of that information. And I don't remember exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe at that time, and that was, how many years ago was that, Dr. Gates? 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It was about 4 years ago, actually.
Okay, 4 years ago, I believe the cost was $26,000. And actually, what they were looking at was a 4-camera configuration, and that is, really, we looked at the exact same thing the second time around. So they were looking at the same type of configuration that we did just recently.
So a couple of years ago, we were looking at 26,000.
It was 26,000, correct.
Huh? And now it's close to 90?
Well, I think 90 was on the high end. I believe that there was a range between 50 and 90.
Any other
No, I was
comments?
kind of surprised about Harper also. I thought for sure they'd have something.
We looked into that. I was surprised as well, right, that they've gotten out of the broadcasting totally. They do not have anything. They don't broadcast their meetings. So really, when I talked with Ken Ender, they were just unable to help us.
Thank you.
I guess I struggle a little bit with, I'm not sure we're all always looking at the same page on this topic. I feel like the research you did, Dr. Rock, thank you very much, is on one end, and now we're visiting another end. So I think as a group and as a board, we need to decide which direction. It seems like from previous meetings, it sounds like the community is interested in seeing these. I just don't know if we're trying to put a higher end product out there than what we are the goal of. The goal is to see our meetings. So I think we just need to sift through whether or not we're talking broadcasting, streaming, or just being able to watch. There are definitely different levels, and I think the cost is what escalates those levels.
And I think actually, initially, those were the questions that were asked. So I think we tried to give you the full range of what that could look like. Because I believe we looked at the cable and the broadcasting as well as the streaming. And there's a difference there, sure.
Well, and just to hitchhike off of that, if I may, and this isn't something that I want to necessarily spend countless hours on, but I do think that this is just yet another avenue, another vehicle by which we can make information available to the public. There's a lot of information that's already made available to the public via the website. You know, there's some information that was brought to my attention even this week that's available on our website for the public. And I think this is just yet another vehicle to make information available. I don't think anybody at this table is trying to hide any information. And I think that by you know, putting that information on the website is just another vehicle. It's not to say that we're hiding information, so now we're not, because look, we're making videos available. I think it's just saying, you know what, for your convenience, this is another opportunity for you to receive information. Some people might prefer to read the board minutes. Some people might prefer to watch it on video. Some people might prefer to attend here in person, but I think to offer that through a variety of different modes makes it feasible. One last comment about that is that I think when we take a look at broadcasting live or broadcasting live and then rebroadcasting cable internet, we open up a huge window for questions and confusion and discussion. I think that if at this point we keep it simple, we say let's record the meetings with like a 2-camera system. Keep it simple. Let's not go crazy with expenses, but at the same time have a happy medium between quality and just simply getting the information out there. I know that there are some concerns about quality, but by and large, I think a lot of the people who I've spoken with are not necessarily concerned about the quality as much as they are about the information that's being disseminated. So if we're able to figure out a happy medium there, make that information available to the public on the 211 website, and leave it at that for now, I think that would be a good start. We then can look at expanding that and saying, do we want to involve students to assist with this under the auspices of a staff member? I mean, I see the potential for some educational opportunities here as well, but I think starting out with the concept of just making the information available on the website would be a good start.
Any other Before I move to our next item of business, would you like to make a motion?
I
Or
would.
shall I go on?
I'll throw a motion out there and we'll see what happens. Okay, I move that Dr. Rob purchase a 2-camera system not to exceed $10,000.
Could you slow down for 1 second?
Sure. I move that Dr. Rob purchase a 2-camera system not to exceed $10,000, which will be used to record board meetings.
Hang on 1 second. Okay,
For the purpose of placing these recordings on the District 211 website. So I move that Dr. Rob purchase a 2-camera system not to exceed $10,000, which will be used to record board meetings for the purpose of placing these recordings on the District 211 website.
all right, is everyone clear on what the motion is? Is there a second for that?
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, as Mr. Robertson, I think, repeated for us twice. I'm not going to repeat it again. On this motion, is there any discussion?
I have a question. Dr. Rob, it was mentioned that this was brought up 4 years ago.
Correct.
Until the last board meeting over those last 4 years, how many people approached the district interested in reporting and publishing board meetings?
As far as contacts with me, I had none until actually the day before the board meeting. I had a contact from a citizen who came to address us that following meeting, but other than that, I had no contacts.
If I can maybe go along with it being on the board at the time.
If you could hang on 1 second. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. For now, let's just leave it as Mr. Gerber has the floor, and we'll recognize that. When he's done, then we'll move on to who's ever next, and that person can go.
Thank you. If the board votes to approve the recording of the board meetings, is there a duration? How long would that last? 1 year, 2 year, 5 years?
I would say that would continue. What would happen, that would be indefinite until, as a board or another board would choose to discuss this matter again, and then it would be, again, have to be a majority vote of the board to make a change.
So at that point, whatever assistance was offered by any other community or group, 211 owns that responsibility.
That's correct.
If someone from the public was interested in recording and publishing at no expense to 211, is there any restriction to that?
No, there are no restrictions. And we've had people record in the past. Oftentimes, we do have students come and they do record the meetings, and they do that as part of the class assignment.
And then my last question is, what information is presented at a board meeting that is not generally made available to the public?
The information, as far as the written information, what you see before you and what I send to board members is exactly what I put on the website, so every member of the community can see, with one exception, and that would be personnel information that would be protected legally. So anything that would be confidential personnel information would not be shared with the public. Otherwise, the written documents are all on our website, the board docs, just as you would see them. So the difference would be whatever the dialogue we would have here this evening. The information's not any different, though.
Thank you. Those are all the questions.
Ms. Klimkowicz.
Okay, no, I apologize.
No,
I was just
no problem.
trying to answer a question there. Mr. Gerber, when you asked about who's been asking about board meetings being made public, that question has arisen over the years. Depending on what kind of a group you're at, people say, such and such village records their meetings, I've watched it, it's interesting, how come the board doesn't do it? I'd like to know more about it. My kids have graduated, I'm still interested. Even people who have students here, they don't have an opportunity to come out. they're involved with their kids, maybe different activities, they still like to know what's going on. You know, having that connection. You asked about the information that's presented. I think when you look at our minutes, there, our consent agenda, you know, those items are listed there. So we've got numbers and we've got facts and things of that nature. But what's missing is the actual discussion, such as we're having now, for the public to see how we're talking about the business of the board. And I think our presentations that we have had have just been absolutely fantastic. 2 weeks ago, we had on the engineering, we've had presentations on curriculum, we've had presentations on our lunch programs and special needs, and just a whole variety of things, because our schools are so rich with you know, all the activities that they do, and I just think it's so important to share that. And it's not just the parents of the children. I think community members who don't have students, they need to see that. They need to know what we're doing. I just think it's just so important to keep that communication open. So to me, when you look at the words are great. It's a motion and it's gone, yay or nay. But you don't see the passion in the discussion. So to me, that's where my heart is in regards to it. I think that's an important factor of what we do.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess one of the concerns that I have is we have about 20% population of Hispanic speaking in our school district at this point. Will we be broadcasting these in Spanish to make this more accessible to the population as a whole? I mean, we really have to reach everybody. You know, one of the major complaints we have is that the Hispanic population is not involved or does not get involved in our school districts. And if we don't broadcast this, or at least make the attempt to broadcast this in dual language or Spanish subtitles, then I'm not sure that we're really achieving what we should be achieving, making this thing totally open to the public.
So Mrs. Klimkowicz was first.
How about if we go ahead and let someone who hasn't spoken speak, and then we'll hear from you again at the end. How's that?
That's a really interesting point, Ed. And so I was just curious, are written documents in any other language on the website?
Our letters go home in Spanish. We have our documents that go home with the report cards would be in Spanish, but I don't say that every document is in Spanish.
So the board information like that's currently available today to the public on the website is also in the English, is only written in English?
It's only in English, correct.
I have a comment, if I may.
Sure.
You know, when we talk about education and we talk about student learners, there's a variety of different methods by which one can learn. Just to throw some out there, there's auditory learners, there's kinesthetic learners, there's visual learners, so on and so forth. And I oftentimes see our role as board members as, or even as administration in some cases, is educating the public or informing the public, and sometimes there's an explanation attached to that. And I think when we're able to make information available in a variety of different ways, it's helpful. Oftentimes we tell teachers that, you know, we don't want to just have direct instruction, teacher-centered instruction, switch it up, differentiate instruction. And I think that it's of that mindset where I come from when we say, let's make information available to the public in a variety of different ways. The information is already available in written format. If we allow the public to have access to the same information in a video format, I think oftentimes it's helpful for people to see that dialogue and hear that dialogue as opposed to read it on paper. Some people might prefer to read it on paper, but I think we should leave that up to each individual citizen to decide. The other thing I wanted to comment on is it seems that, you know, overall there's a common denominator here with regard to the quality of the videos, which is why we're seeing proposals in upwards of 6 figures. So when the question was brought up, you know, could citizens videotape board meetings on their own. Well, certainly, but if one of the concerns is quality, then having citizens videotape board meetings and using that as our primary vehicle to make information available to the citizens, then that quality concern I can see still being a variable, because although the video quality might be sufficient with a personal camcorder, unless it's on a tripod and there's other parameters, there might be some other support pieces. I think there might be some concerns with regard to that also. So I think, going back to my original point about, you know, let's do this, let's do it right, but let's do it within a reasonable financial window to where we can accomplish our goals with a reasonable amount of quality, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, something we'd see on like a Blu-ray DVD or something. So that's all.
So let's,
If I may, just
Sure.
to and maybe touch on what Mr. Young had said in regards to the Hispanic population. Well, Hoffman Estates High School has, you know, a Hispanic parent group, and I guess it's doing very well. You know, and I understand